the Radio What Studios, and this is my podcast, What Makes You Smarter. It's an extension of the RadioWhat.com internet radio station that I've been running for quite some time. And if you need some DJ services, where do I always send you? DJLittleRock.com. DJLittleRock.com. Check availability and get a free price quote, and maybe you can have me at your next event. You know, I like to party with the people. The people need to be entertained. Let me entertain you. Are you not entertained? Make your next thing a big one. And for those that are watching the video version of this, you'll see behind me there's a sign, and you could probably make out the U and the R, and the next thing a B. That's what that says. Make your next thing a big one. Yes. All right, party people. This week's shows, I will be at the Cedar Lounge in Morrilton, Arkansas, Thursday night. That is becoming my regular Thursday night gig now. Every Thursday night on the party patio from 6 p.m. until 10 in the p.m. I will be at Cedar Lounge. Now, last week I had to have a substitute. I had Brock go out there, so thank you so much to Brock for covering for me on a Thursday night, but it's a good time. Let me tell you, Cedar Lounge has some great food, great people, great service, and it's all outdoors. It is covered, so you're safe from the elements. And I think, I don't think, but they said that when it gets cooler, they'll put some heaters on, so it's well protected. It's covered, and there's surrounding wooden fence. So even though we're outside, it's still very, very covered. So it's a party patio, 21 and over outside on the party patio. Now, if you want to bring your family for dinner, I encourage you, check out the Cedar Lounge. You could do a whole lot worse than going to the Cedar Lounge. It's delicious. I tell you, they sent me home with a steak a couple weeks ago. I'm going to have to check those steaks out again on Thursday night. I like it. All right, and that's the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam, one of my public shows. It's Thursday night, Cedar Lounge, Morrilton, Arkansas, 6 to 10. Be there. And then Friday night, my other public show. Oh, by the way, wear a mask on the way in, and when you're sitting down, you can have your drinks and your food. Pull the mask down. See? But while we're interacting with each other, wear the mask. It's what the scientists tell you to do to help to prevent the spread of infection. And I guess that just doesn't just go with the coronavirus. Pretty much anything that's airborne, right? I guess the common cold, the flu, you can help the spread by wearing a mask. So there's lots of reasons to wear a mask. I mean, yeah, I don't like them, and I'm sure a lot of you don't like them as well. But we're doing what those smart people tell us to do. And hopefully we'll all get through this pretty quickly. Okay, so Friday night, I'll be at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Once again, wear the masks. Have some masks on the way in, and wash your hands. You should have been washing your hands anyway. Anyway, the Video Dance Party Karaoke Jam, my regular Friday night gig. It's the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. Oh, yeah, always a good time at the Rab. Always exciting at the Rab in Conway, Arkansas. If you're anywhere in the area, 8 p.m. until 1 a.m. And yes, that one's a 21 and over as well. Full bar, kitchens open, pool tables. There's a pool tournament on Friday night, so if you want to try to make some money on a Friday night, I encourage you to check out the Rab in Conway, Arkansas, R-A-B. Why did they call it Rab? And isn't Conway a dry county? Well, that's how they got away with it. They were just going to call it the bar, and they couldn't get away with that. They couldn't be that blatant, so they reversed it, R-A-B, and they reversed the B and they reversed the R in the sign, so when you look at it in your rearview mirror, it says bar, and you go, did I just pass a bar in Conway? Really? Yes, it's acronym. It's relax and be. Yeah. Anybody that's thinking, maybe we shouldn't let them name it R-A-B. Come out and visit with me at the Rab. It's a good time. Always something fun to do while you're waiting to sing on stage. You're the stars of the show at my public shows. Oh, I'm so excited. And then Saturday night, I think I have a wedding. So unless you're invited, you cannot come. So sorry. All right, then. Also, if you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. And if you want to watch me stream online games, which I'll probably do in the next, when I'm done with this, I'll probably stream some online games. Use the hashtag KeysDanGaming. Hashtag KeysDanGaming. You'll find me on Facebook Gaming and Twitch. There you go. Now, on with the show. Today on the program, 10 things you need to know today for Monday, October 19th, 2020. 10 things you need to know today. Number 1, Trump-Biden appeal for votes in battleground states. President Trump and Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden campaigned Sunday in states they hope to flip, making the late pushes for electoral votes as they head into the final 2 weeks before the November 3rd election. Trump held a rally in Nevada, a state that has not backed a Republican presidential candidate since 2004. Trump called Biden corrupt and said, quote, "Lock him up," end quote. He also said Biden would devastate the economy with unnecessary coronavirus lockdowns, mocking Biden's vow to do what scientists say. Trump said if he had listened to scientists, the country would be in a, quote, "massive depression," end quote. Biden campaigned in battleground North Carolina, slamming Trump for saying the U.S. had, quote, "turned the corner," end quote, in the coronavirus crisis. Quote, "Things are getting worse," end quote, Biden said. Quote, "and he continues to lie to us about circumstances," end quote. This is according to the Associated Press and Reuters. Number 2, Twitter deletes Trump science advisor tweet that said masks don't work. Twitter on Sunday blocked a post by President Trump's science advisor, Scott Atlas, that said masks don't work to curb the coronavirus infections. The company said Atlas, who tweeted, quote, "masks work, question mark, no," in capital letters, end quote, had violated a Twitter ban on sharing false or misleading information on COVID-19 that could result in harm. In such cases, Twitter disables a user's account until the owner deletes the post. Atlas accused Twitter of censorship. Quote, "I don't understand why the tweets were deleted," end quote, he said in an email. The Associated Press reported. Trump has reportedly downplayed the importance of wearing face coverings to reduce the spread of the pandemic, which has killed nearly 220,000 people in the United States. This is according to the Associated Press. Number 3, Pelosi optimistic about stimulus deal. Trump calls for bigger number. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, Democrat California, said Sunday that she remained optimistic that Democrats would reach a deal with the Trump administration on a new round of coronavirus relief before the November election, despite stubborn disagreements on what to include in the package. Pelosi acknowledged that she had given White House negotiators 48 hours to address the sticking points, but said it was possible to strike a deal because, quote, "we've been back and forth on all of this," end quote. President Trump told reporters that he wants a, quote, "bigger number," end quote, than Pelosi wants. The White House proposed a $1.8 trillion stimulus package, but Pelosi rejected it as inadequate. The Democrat-controlled House has passed a $2.2 trillion package. This is according to Reuters. Number 4, judge blocks Trump effort to end food stamps for 700,000. A federal judge on Sunday blocked the Trump administration's effort to end food stamp benefits for nearly 700,000 unemployed people. Chief U.S. District Judge Beryl Howell of Washington, D.C., called the administration move an, quote, "arbitrary and capricious," end quote, attempt to cut the federal food safety net, especially during the pandemic that has sent unemployment soaring and increased the number of people counting on the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program by more than 6 million, or about 17%. The rule, quote, at issue is this litigation. Well, let me start over. The rule, quote, at issue in this litigation radically and abruptly alters decades of regulatory practice, leaving states scrambling and exponentially increasing food insecurity for tens of thousands of Americans, end quote, Howe wrote in the scathing ruling. The case was filed by a coalition of 19 states, Washington, D.C., New York City, and private groups. This is according to the Washington Post. Number 5, U.S. officials secretly traveled to Syria for hostage negotiations. A top White House official recently went to Syria for the first talks a high-level U.S. official has had with members of the Assad regime in more than a decade, the Wall Street Journal reported Sunday, citing Trump administration officials and others familiar with the matter. Kash Patel, a deputy assistant to President Trump and the top White House counterterrorism official, traveled to Damascus earlier this year as part of an effort to negotiate the release of 2 Americans believed to be in custody of President Bashir al-Assad's government. It was not immediately clear who Patel met with to discuss the cases of freelance journalist and former Marine officer Austin Tice, who went missing in 2012, and Majid Kamal Maz, a Syrian American therapist and aid worker. The State Department and the White House declined to comment. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Number 6, Pompeo threatens sanctions after UN-Iran arms embargo expires. Secretary of State Mike Pompeo on Sunday warned that the United States would impose sanctions on anyone who helps Iran boost its weapons program, raising tensions with other world powers as a decade-long United Nations arms embargo against Tehran expired. Pompeo said any individual or entity that helps aid Iran add to its arsenal is, quote, very clearly choosing to fuel conflict and tension over promoting peace and security, end quote, and impoverishing the Iranian people by enabling the regime's diversion of funds away from the people and toward the regime's military aims, end quote. Iran's foreign ministry and Tehran, quote, may procure any necessary arms and equipment from any source without any legal restrictions and solely based on its defensive needs, end quote, although Iran has said it has no plans for an arms buying spree. This is according to CNBC. Number 7, Fauci absolutely not surprised Trump contracted COVID-19. Dr. Anthony Fauci, the nation's top infectious disease expert, said in a CBS 60 Minutes interview that aired Sunday that he was, quote, absolutely not, end quote, surprised that President Trump was infected with the coronavirus after seeing him at a crowded public event where few people wore masks. Quote, I was worried that he was going to get sick when I saw him in a completely precarious situation of crowded, no separation between people, and almost nobody wearing a mask, end quote, Fauci said, in an apparent reference to Trump's Rose Garden announcement that he was nominating Judge Amy Coney Barrett to the Supreme Court. Fauci said when he saw the event on TV, he thought, quote, that's got to be a problem. And then sure enough, it turned out to be a super spreader event, end quote. This is according to CNN. Number 8, explosive new Colorado wildfire prompts 3,000 evacuations. A new wildfire spread rapidly in Boulder County, Colorado over the weekend, prompting the evacuations of at least 3,000 people. The Cowwood fire began burning Saturday about 50 miles southeast of the Cameron Peak fire, the largest in state history. Quote, it just exploded, end quote. Mike Wagner, division chief with the Boulder County Sheriff's Office, said of the Calwood fire, quote, "We do believe multiple homes were probably lost. It's still too dynamic to get in and begin to assess," end quote. The Cameron Peak fire started in mid-August and has burned more than 317 square miles. The cause of the new fire was not immediately determined, although investigators said there had been no lightning strikes or other weather events that could have started the Calwood fire. The area has had high winds and, quote, critically dry, end quote, conditions for weeks, fire officials said. This is according to USA Today and the Denver Post. Number 9, Chilean protests erupt ahead of constitutional referendum. Protesters burned 2 churches and looted stores in Chile's capital, Santiago, on Sunday as tensions rise ahead of a referendum on scrapping a dictatorship-era constitution. Masked protesters cheered in television images showing the spire of La Asunción Church on the ground in flames. The city's archbishop and the government of President Sebastián Piñera condemned the violence. Quote, "This is an expression of brutality," end quote, said Interior Minister Victor Pérez. Quote, "Today we must lament the violence acts, but we will confront them," end quote. About 25,000 people gathered in Plaza Italia with banners calling for a new constitution. The square was the central point of protest a year ago that resulted in more than 30 deaths and billions of dollars in property damage, but prompted the government to promise a new constitution. This is according to the Wall Street Journal. Number 10, Dodgers beat Braves, will play Tampa Bay Rays in World Series. The Los Angeles Dodgers beat the Atlanta Braves in a hard-fought and exciting Game 7 of the National League Championship Series on Sunday night, advancing to the World Series for the 3rd time in 4 years. They will play the Tampa Bay Rays, who clinched the American League title on Saturday night, overcoming the Houston Astros 4-2 in the 7th game of the series. It will be the Rays' second ever World Series in their 23-year history and their first in 12 seasons. The teams will play their first World Series game on Tuesday in Arlington, Texas. The chance of another championship marks a big moment for the city of Tampa Bay, Florida, whose NHL team, the Tampa Bay Lightning, won the Stanley Cup in September. The Los Angeles Lakers won the NBA championship last week. This is according to USA Today and the Tampa Bay Times. That's 10 things you need to know today for Monday, October 19th, 2020. Thank you so much for listening. Thanks for putting up with my stumbling. I'm Keys Dan. This has been What Makes You Smarter. If you'd like to tell your story or hear the stories of others, I encourage you to check out my other podcast, What Makes You Famous. Find it everywhere using the hashtag What Makes You Famous. Also, if you want to watch me stream some online games or give me some suggestions or even play with me, I'm playing Fortnite tonight. If you want to try your hand at playing a duo or a squad, let's get together and play some video games, unwind after a long day of work. How about that? Use the hashtag KeysDanGaming to find me everywhere. You'll find me, well, not everywhere. You'll find me on Facebook, gaming, and Twitch. That's pretty easy. All right, that's it for me. It's KeysDan, RadioWhat.com, DJLittleRock.com. Peace.